Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Fiends podcast. Hope you're having a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and what do you say, Happy Hanukkah. My name is Stevie Collier, and I'm here with my co-host Andy Peliquin, and today we are honored to have Ryan Kirk, author of the Nightblade. Oh, wait, no, it's just Nightblade, no the. And I mean, go check this guy's stuff out. Like, I give him the seal of approval for covers. I do this for every once in a while, but man, his covers are on fleek. Go check him out. It's freaking awesome. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks, Stevie. I appreciate that seal of approval. I'll take it.
I mean, I think anyone that looks at your covers are gonna just be like, yeah. I mean, I definitely would have picked up Nightblade for sure. Is that what we're reading from today?
It is not actually. We are doing a selection from my newest book, Relentless Souls.
Awesome. Well, now that we've gotten through the portion of the podcast where Stevie blows smoke up our guest's ass,
it's true.
I know.
It's true.
I just couldn't resist. It's Christmas, Stevie.
God, so freaking rude, Andy. I blow smoke up your ass too, you know. No one ever gets on this podcast and is like, Stevie, you're so beautiful and handsome. Your books are amazing. I need smoke blown up my ass too. I hope people are tuning in right at this conversation too.
Yeah, like the Facebook post is going to go live like right now when this is what we're talking about.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna watch it too. So anyway, we have Ryan Kirk on. We have Ryan Kirk on today, and we are going to be talking about a super interesting topic, one that we have yet to talk about yet, and it kind of reminds me of Red Dead Redemption 2. But before we get into that, we always start out the podcast with something cool that's happened to us this week. And I think Andy and I already met Tuesday and talked about something cool that happened to us. Andy, do you have anything new?
Well, I will say that I'm doing the edits on the final version, or the final round of edits on the 5th book in the Heirs of Destiny series, and as of today, I was on chapter 24, I think. So hopefully by this time next week, I will be finished, send it off to the beta readers, and I won't have to write anything else for a while. I don't know if you ever feel this way, if you guys ever feel this way, but sometimes I look forward to the editing and the just like the fixing things up, because raw creation is exhausting. And if you've been doing it for so long, like I've basically marathon written these 5 books. So that just being able to stop creating something new and just polish things up, it's not this raw outpouring of art. It's much more technical, much more cerebral, and it's a really nice break for me sometimes. I always love writing an awesome new story, but being able to just sort of slow down and polish things, make awesome stuff even awesomer, it's a nice change.
I actually thought about this today, but I want to hear what Ryan's thoughts are on that.
On how awesome editing is?
Well, that sounds horrible the way you put it.
I love editing.
Do you really?
I do, yeah.
And totally. Andy, you love editing?
I love editing because it just makes everything so much better. Like, you've already got basically what editing does is it reaffirms that like 90% of what you wrote is spectacular. And then there's 10% that once you fix it, 100% is spectacular. Obviously, that's not the case, but that's sort of like how I see it is, okay, the editor didn't comment on all of the stuff that's in the book. They commented on this. So I changed that. The book's awesome. That's sort of my perspective on editing.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get my extra long straw here, shove it up my ass, and blow smoke up it, because I'm so sorry, people who are just tuning in. This is not what I wanted you to hear. Anyway, so blowing smoke up my ass. Now I've lost my train of thought. Okay, this is the first time I've actually been enjoying editing, because I thought I was happy writing the first Dark Assassin book. I really was happy. But by book 2 and book 3, I started writing for more or less the reader. There were sections in there that are gold that were written for me. But Jigsaw, the Bizarre Blade series, that is all for me. There's nothing in there. There may be small parts that I wrote for the reader, and that might sound bad, but I found people like it the best when I write for myself. So going back to edit is super exciting, because I really enjoy putting myself back into that world. This is my favorite world I've ever written, and that includes everything when I was in middle school, elementary school. This is all the comics that I've written. This is the best, and I'm super excited every day to sit down in bed and write. I do all my writing in bed, nude, with my straw. And anyway, so and I have an actual beta reader, which is my girlfriend, which will be helping me to make the story even stronger. And this is also the first time that I have something like that. So yeah, I want to say that I agree with you, Andy. I personally prefer raw creation, but you're right. I do get tired every once in a while, and I have to be like, I'm glad this book's over with, and now I can go back and just read it, enjoy it, and add dinosaurs and vegetation setting.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I've found that sometimes it's just nice to have the framework already written, so then you can, instead of focusing on the story at large, you just narrow in on the things that need to be fixed, and then you can sort of refine the product a lot more, and it makes it so much better in the long run. And sometimes my brain just needs a break. By the end of book 5 next weekend, I will have been hardcore writing for 6 months. Or since July, essentially.
You write a shitload of words, man. Ryan, do you mind spilling your word count to us? Daily word count?
Between 3,000 and 5,000.
Okay, yeah. So Ryan and I are the same. Andy, you're just a freak.
It's just longer days. That's all.
I can see why you're tired, because after my 4,000 words, I'm like so exhausted. But then I spend the whole rest of the day working on tomorrow's work. So I'm in that world. And last week, did I talk about the book I got that was signed?
Nope.
Oh, I got something cool this week. Wait, are you done with yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me find it. Ryan, you can go if you need to.
You can fill in some space. I've actually got 2 that I'm pretty excited about.
Do it.
Well, I had one, and then something came in the mail today. It is also a book. It is an advanced copy of a book that's coming out in fall of 2019.
Jin Yong.
Called A Hero Born. And this is, I think, the best-selling Chinese fantasy of all time.
Oh, wow.
He's equated like the Chinese equivalent of, Martin and Tolkien and all those guys.
Is he really?
Yeah, and this is the first time that is being published in the United States. And it's just this huge, like, historical martial arts epic.
I think I heard about that they were translating all of his stuff into English.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. I managed to snag an advance copy, and it just arrived in the mail today.
How'd you do that? What's your secret?
Goodreads, actually, of all places.
I need to get more active on Goodreads.
So I got really, really excited about that. And then the other news that I was really excited by was I entered a contest with Patrick Rothfuss's World Builders nonprofit.
Nice.
Because they were offering a Wormwood gaming table, which is worth like $10,000.
Yes, okay, go on.
And so I was just like, I was on Twitter and I was like, hey, you guys should go support World Builders. They do really cool work. I have my fingers crossed for this gaming table. And one of my readers reached out to me. He was like, well, if you don't win that, I'll build you a gaming table. And I was like, really? So he's going to work with me on building a gaming table that I can throw into my basement. And I'm super excited by that.
That is awesome.
I'm low key. Actually, I'm high key jealous right now. Like, can we switch bodies? Can your fan become my fan? I need a gaming table.
I mean, having seen the picture of your email and stuff like that, I don't think you want to switch into my body. I think you want to stick with yours.
Andy calls it my 6 boobs. I was at Starbucks when I posted the picture because I was like, I don't know if I want to post it. But I worked so hard for it. But now I've lost it all. Like, it's bulking season, and I think I said this last podcast. My gut gets out of bed before I do, and I drink beer and look. This is my stash.
This is proof that Stevie is a fully grown, functioning adult.
I'm a man child. I'm gonna grow a neck beard next.
All right, so Stevie, what's your awesome news for the week?
Well, damn it, I can't beat Ryan's, but speaking of luck, kind of, I never heard of Terry Brooke before my girlfriend let me borrow Sword of Shannara. I know, it's a sin. After reading it, I was like, man, I am a garbage truck. But so we were at Half Price. That's our weekly thing. Me and Lisa go to Half Price and spend like hours. And I think I spent $89, $79 there last weekend. So I think I need to stop going. But I got this book. And I've read probably 6 books on writing, excluding craft, just on the lifestyle writing. This book I connect with the most. I identify with this the most, and I was surprised. He talks about how readers or writers don't ever leave their worlds, which is super real for me, and it takes away my concentration. And now I can't watch a freaking movie or a TV show without wondering how I can turn it into a story. That's my life now, and without trying to guess the ending as well. But I opened it and I was like, that's weird. It's got a bookmark in it. Usually Half Price takes stuff out like that. And I was like, this looks like a schedule for, showings of Terry Brooke. I was like, you know what? That'd be something if it was signed. Well, boom.
Oh, that's so cool.
I paid $6 for this.
When did you change your name to Joy?
Well, it was a long process, I gotta tell you. And the reason why I changed my name to Joy because my mom says I'm such a joy and that I was dunked in a barrel of sugar when I was born. Andy. But I thought that was super cool. So that is my cool story for today. And I will be going back to Half Price. Actually, I found Andy's book at a Half Price once and bought it.
Really? Which Half Price?
That was the one in San Antonio, the huge one where I remember and Valerie, my brother and his girlfriend, were looking for me, so I hid behind the stack of magazines, and it actually got me 30 more minutes stuck in that store. But it's your old version of Blade of the Destroyer, and I was so upset that I didn't bring it to the convention to get you to sign it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember that. I enjoyed the Half Price books. I went to all of the Half Price books in San Antonio.
When?
3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, well, we need to do it again. Ryan, you need to come down too. Bring all your sweet-ass, sexy book covers with you.
I can make that happen.
That would be cool. We need to create our own convention. Wow, 13 minutes in, and we've just been talking about cool shit that's why am I cussing so much today?
I've been known to have
family podcast. So we've all said our cool things. I want to remind everybody that we are doing the 12 days of Christmas giveaway, and that is on the 24th or 25th. Andy and I will be selecting 12 subscribers, and we are going to let them choose one book from either of us. So please like and subscribe to be a part of that. And now we are going to transfer over to our topic of today, and to do that, I'm just going to be talking like this the whole time because we're talking about true grit. That's right, grit.
Very good, Stevie. Why don't you lead us into that with that very intelligent sounding voice of yours?
I can't do a rugged cowboy. It always turns out hillbilly and incestual Alabama or Arkansas. Sorry, Arkansas. Sorry, Alabama. I can say it. I can say it because I have half my family from Arkansas. So
okay, I guess that makes it okay.
I was born with no. I better shut up because someone from Arkansas is gonna be watching. They're gonna get really offended. I like Arkansas, so.
Well, straying away from the nonsense that's coming out of Stevie's mouth.
Nonsense.
Grit is actually slightly different than perseverance. So, perseverance is one of the classic heroic traits. It's one of my favorite to write into stories because it's something that I feel like I want more of. When times get tough, you keep fighting and eventually it gets better. There's that essence of hopefulness to it. Mm-hmm. But grit is a little bit beyond that. So I actually Googled it like I do, did a little bit of research beforehand, and Wikipedia defines it as a trait based on perseverance. So there is that element of perseverance combined with the passion for a long-term goal or end state. So it's not just perseverance, it's persevering towards something with the end in mind. So it's working towards something no matter how tough things get. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. You know, it's beyond just the basic perseverance, you know, keep fighting, but working towards fighting towards something. I like that.
God, I love that definition. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, one of the reasons I actually thought about this was before I was writing, I was a teacher and worked in education and nonprofits for a really long time. And one of the reasons it occurred to me is because, like, in education right now, grit is a key word. It's like, oh, let's teach everybody how to be all gritty. And what they're finding is that people who can demonstrate that quality of grit are more successful. It's a better indicator of like future success than IQ or any other trait they can think of. And so I just think that's really cool. And I think that in fantasy, maybe better than any other genre, really puts that perseverance and that grit front and center in so many of our protagonists. And I just think that's a really cool way to look at it.
You know, I would say that between fantasy and sci-fi, because you know you'll often have the military guys who are, you know, fighting impossible alien odds, and it's, you know, they're running out of ammunition, and you know it's a pretty classic military trope essentially, and so a lot of that will come down to it. But yeah, fantasy in particular, you know, you've got these guys who are absolutely, you know, they're wounded or they're injured and they've got to do this long march, or you've got the magician who's got, you know, one spell and he's got to defeat the ultimate power. And so only through this grit, this determination, you actually do it. It is definitely one of the most common, I would say, tropes or character aspects in fantasy. But I really like that because it's something that I think that everybody wants to a certain degree. You know, one of the unforgivable traits in a character, something that readers will never forgive, is cowardice. You know, giving up, spinelessness. So grit.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So grit is like, it's the opposite of that. It's the trait that we all aspire to. You know, people don't always want to be noble and heroic and, you know, yeah, super awesome. But we all want to be able to suck it up and power through the shitty times. And so that is, I think, one character element, one aspect that we all identify with, just like we all identify with love. You know, no matter who you are, you can see that love is something that makes the world better. So grit and perseverance, that's one character trait that everyone's like, yeah, that's definitely something I want. So that's probably one of the most widely accepted, widely recognized traits of a hero.
You know a lot about grit, I gotta say. But I wanted to say, when you were saying that the one magician with the one spell going up against an army, that actually gave me chills. That's it's a good idea for a story, unless you stole that from something.
That's not stolen from something. It's literally every story ever.
Whatever. Yeah, I guess so.
You know, okay, so the Ragged Heroes anthology that we did together.
Yeah.
The story that I wrote, it's about these two brothers who are like the dregs of the army, but they're determined to do it. You know, to be the soldiers, to fight, to win, and stuff. And it's that perseverance, that grit, that enables them to do what they do. I'm not going to spoil the story, but you know, they do stuff.
Ironically, my story of Cambion in that one, the guy seriously has one magic trick. I mean, but the one magic trick, it's not magic trick, but it's a type of ability that he has, unlocks more abilities, but it's kind of, anyway, I could kind of mold that into that cookie shape. I had is there any way I could screen share real quick? Something very important?
There is a way to do it. I'm not sure how, though.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
Is it working?
No. Yeah. You're screen sharing me.
No.
Oh, wait. Can you see it now like I'm on YouTube?
Yeah. You can see you're on the YouTube window.
Okay. Well, I did my own research on grit, and I came up with this. And, you know, I think this is what we really need to be talking about. Yeah.
Audience, in case you are listening and not watching, I am shaking my head and frowning very sternly at Stevie for his terrible, terrible puns. Puns are only acceptable if they're good.
Hey, that's delicious, though. I'm freaking starving. And when we're talking about grit, I'm thinking grits. Buttered grits with a little bit of Splenda. I know you hate aspartame, but you would anyway. Anyway, I would like to say, yeah, we're talking grit in the with in the lines of fantasy. But when I first saw the email about grit, and I did my own research, surprise, surprise, Stevie does something sometimes. I kept pushing it towards my own life. And I'm not saying that I have like all this grit and stuff, but it's something that I had to do with a mom that constantly is getting bad news with her back and her spinal cord. And to me, that's grit in its own way. I may not be the toughest guy. I think, the grit of me going to the hospital and writing in the waiting room is grit. But what tops it all is my mom's grit. She has the grit. She cooks the grits and she has the grit, because when we got our last piece of bad news, which was 2 weeks ago, and oh God, it was horrible. And I'm just sitting there on the couch like, this is going to snap her. This is going to be it. And she goes, and tomorrow's big thing is I'm going to be looking for surgeons. We're going to be doing this. And it made me tear up, because I was like, this is freaking amazing. This is who I want to be like. My mom is freaking awesome. And that's my opinion of someone who has grit. So,
and that's what I'm saying, is that this is the reason that when we read about it, it's something that we can immediately connect to. It's something that we respond to, because we all know someone, or we all want to be like someone that has that. My mom loves to tell this story about when I was 2 or 3 years old. There was this cement tree in this playground where I would go play, and I would run at the tree and try to climb it and fall off, because I was 2 or 3, very uncoordinated. But I would keep trying and trying and trying until the day I did it. And I actually wrote that into a story because it fit the character that I was writing. But like, that's the trait, I would say, one of the most defining traits of successful people. Because like, let's take the author business as a great example. You start off by writing a book that's freaking long. You don't finish a book overnight. You don't finish a book often in a month. It takes weeks, months of hard work to finish a book. Ryan, how long did it take you to finish your first book?
About 1.5 years.
Whoa.
Stevie, what about you?
I would say 8 months, 7 to 8 months.
I'm gonna say mine was 3 to 6. I don't remember exactly, but it was time, right?
Years or months?
Months of work.
Okay, the Atlantis one, right?
No, that one took a little bit less or more. I don't know. We'll go with Darkblade Assassin, because like I wrote the Atlantis 1 and 2 shifts, basically, when I was 18, 19, and 20, and then when I was 25. So, but let's say, so we all invested a lot of time and effort into that. Now, Ryan, how successful was your first book upon its immediate launch?
Well, I'm a unicorn, so you probably shouldn't ask me about that.
Okay, there you go. So you got lucky. Stevie, you also got lucky. I will tell you how successful my book was on its launch, and that was not very. I launched the last View Solari, Blade of the Destroyer, in 2015, and didn't sell that much. Made a few $100s.
You're joking.
Nope, not even a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. And so since 2015, I've been working at it, and I will honestly say that success in any quantifiable form literally only kicked in this year, 2018, and that's 4 years after I started writing, 5 years after I started writing, because I started writing Blade of the Destroyer in 2013, and it didn't publish till 2015. So it took time, and it's taken a lot of perseverance and grit, I would say, to keep working at it. Stevie, you saw great success with Dark Assassin, and then how have things gone for you? Just as well, or they've trickled off a bit since then?
Oh, better, for real. But the reason why the Dark Assassin was so successful is because I was still at Southwestern, and I had a meeting with 3 professors, and we all came up, business professors, and we came up with a game plan with their lack of knowledge. And part of that was just learning about self-publishing. And, I knew the good covers and stuff like that. So, but after I saw the success of the Darkblade Assassin, that's when people started leaving from my life, because they saw that I was going to pursue being an author. So I put more grit into it, I would say. And that's when I started being able to write books in a month and a half, just sitting there and just going nuts.
But like, financially speaking, which is the most quantifiable aspect, I would say, did all of your books rock your world like the first one did, the Dark Assassin?
No, I didn't. There were things I messed up on, marketing wise, but no, long story short, no, it did not.
Right. And so, but then you don't let that stop you.
Heck no.
You keep writing.
Yeah. You learn new tactics.
Ryan, you're lucky, so you don't get to talk here.
Wait, so what happened with you, Ryan? Do you mind telling your story or no?
No, I mean it. I think as I was kind of talking about before the call started, is it had just been a book. The reason it took me a year and a half is I wasn't writing anywhere near full time. I was just putting down 1,000 words a day while working at other jobs, and decided after listening to enough self-publishing advice to put it out there. I'm kind of thinking, maybe I can earn like $20 a month, take my wife out to McDonald's, treat her real nice.
There you go.
Do
you live in Arkansas?
No, Minnesota.
Just kidding.
And so we, I put it up, and I did. I literally did the thing where I put it up online, and then I actually left and put myself out of internet access for like the next week. And it was just one of those situations where it caught hold of the Amazon algorithms and just kept growing and growing and growing and kept growing.
That's awesome.
So you did nothing. You just put it up, and the cover worked, and the cover and the blurb just worked for itself.
Yes.
Awesome.
Literally did nothing.
What year was it?
2015.
Wow. Okay. So it was past the 2012 mark, which is what I was wondering if you published in 2012. Very nice. I mean, I saw it right away, the cover. It's just so many questions. How do you say his name? Ryu?
Ryu, yeah.
Oh, Ryu. Okay. Is it Japanese?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And you can probably get after me for the pronunciation.
I can't do the RYUs either. It's like Ryu. Just Ryu.
Yeah.
It's hard to do for an American. It's the hardest one out of all the anyway. Don't get me started on languages. Because I won't stop, and then it messes with my English. Okay. Grit. I just keep thinking of True Grit, the movie.
Yeah, but that movie was a really good showcase of what, like, that little girl, she was gritty, and that's what enabled her to get as far as she did through the story. And I think that's the thing. Ryan, you said you wrote the book around your other job, a year and a half. That's a pretty long-term investment. Did you think when you were writing it that, this is going to be successful, or you were like, I got the story to tell?
Not even a little bit. I just was having fun, and like I said, I thought maybe I could take my wife out for McDonald's.
There you go. And so there's that element of perseverance, and that's something that most people will never see, because the author career, the artist's journey is solitary. You do everything behind closed doors. So people, they see the finished product, they love the book, but they have no idea how much time and effort went into writing it. And that's something that all authors will identify with. You see people who've been writing for 10, 15, 20 years. They've had great success. Others who have had no success. There are people who've written for a year and they're selling like hotcakes, and there are people who've written for a year and they're selling nothing. And so, like, there's the journey. The only way to get to that end goal, which is success, which I will say for a lot of authors is financially, because, like I said, it's the only quantifiable metric that you can use. Being able to say, yes, I'm a successful author in that I'm supporting my family, or I'm taking my wife out to McDonald's, whatever your standard is, it takes that time, it takes that investment, and there is no guarantee. You're not going to a 5 to 9 job and getting a paycheck for the work you're putting in. It's a gamble. And that takes a certain personality type, and I would say a gritty person, to make it work.
The way that I like thinking about it is that grit does not guarantee success, but you can't have success without grit.
I like that. Grit mixed with sort of serendipity, mixed with skill, mixed with education, I believe is the perfect storm for success.
Yeah, with a strong emphasis on serendipity.
Definitely.
Would you say that if you have the grit and then you have a lifetime ahead of you, and let's say you don't die, do you think then that you're going to succeed?
I think your odds get higher with every year.
Yeah, so the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, I think that's even a quote, like, luck is just all about work and timing,
Yeah,
like,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, you put in the work to make yourself lucky. You know, it doesn't just strike you out of the blue. You know, your book isn't going to become an instant bestseller until you write the thing. You put in all the work, and then when it's the time, when you get lucky, it's not, you know, it's not out of the blue.
Would you say grit is something that, this is a question for both of you, that grit is something that people just either have or they don't? Can it be learned? Is it some people are naturally more gritty than others? And do some people have to learn the hard way to get gritty?
So this is actually a really big question in education right now, because they're asking that exact same question. And what they are showing is that it can be taught, but it is exceptionally difficult and exceptionally time consuming. And it actually goes back to Andy's Wikipedia definition from the beginning of this discussion. But you need to be able to find that combination of passion and perseverance. And that is a hard combination for a lot of people to find. But without those two ingredients, you cannot mix up any grits.
That's exactly what I was going to say, that combination, because I will say before I started writing, I was the kind of person who did what I needed to do, and that was it. You know, if I knew I needed to wash the dishes, I'd go wash the dishes, but I wouldn't sweep the floor, you know? Or when it came to supporting my family, it was like, okay, I go to work, I pay the bills, and then I come home, and that's, you know, that's all I do. You know, that's the kind of personality traits that I had at that point in my life. And then I found writing, and I got that passion, and then the perseverance, the grit in my personality came out. You know, it was highlighted. So by having that passion for something and the innate perseverance that I and maybe everybody has, you get this combination. But like Ryan said, finding that passion is the hard part, and that's where I think I want to say that anybody can be gritty. Anyone can have that personality trait. It's just about finding the passion that sparks it, because the passion is the catalyst, at least in my life. The discovering that I loved writing, that I had a potential to be good at it, that was the catalyst that made me say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to work hard, and it's going to be more than just, you know, clocking in and clocking out. It's going to be investing a lot of time and effort into it. And so that was the thing that set off the spark that led me down the path to where I am now. And I would say that anybody who finds their passion, that could be the catalyst that leads them to that gritty personality type.
Yeah, I am currently in the process of finishing up the Wheel of Time series, which I had never read before. And I'm to the point where I'm on book 13 of 14, and it is absolutely fantastic. And I am tearing through the pages. But I think that one of the protagonists in there, Randall Thor, one of the things that's so fascinating about him is he cannot really become successful at the end of the story until he learns to open himself up to care once again. And you know, I think that in fantasy, we always have the save the world trope.
Yeah.
But it's not like grit isn't just save the world. There's got to be like, why do I want to save the world? There's got to be that care and concern and that reason behind that. And I think that seeing that transformation in Rand's character throughout the arc of the series has made him, in my mind, one of the most interesting characters in fantasy in the last couple of decades.
Is that series pretty good? Because I hear like mixed things about it.
The beginning is really, really good. I would say that, you know how books are often said to suffer through a sloppy or difficult middle?
Yes.
That is, in my opinion, very true of the Wheel of Time series. Like books like 7 through 10 are rough. Really, really rough.
And why would anybody read them then?
Well, it's tough because that's like 4,000 pages of words.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't have that time because I'm trying to learn from other authors.
Yeah, so the reason the Wheel of Time is so spectacular is because you're looking at this big story, right? Mm-hmm. Overall, the Wheel of Time is probably one of the best fantasy stories out there. Now, if you break it down to its individual books, its individual components, that's where you find a little bit of where you think, meh. And I will agree with Ryan that Wheel of Time was one of the first fantasy series that I ever read, and there were books that I loved and books that are just like, what the hell was that all about? But looking back at it, overall, the story is by far one of the best crafted fantasy stories overall.
Mm-hmm. Wholeheartedly agree.
So if you can get through the sagging parts, of which there are many, then you will find at the end of it that you went on this journey that you loved.
Yeah, that is exactly what I am finding right now. Is I'm on book 13, and it is making those 4 books of suffering totally worth it.
But Ryan, when you get to literally the last page and a half, I think, I want you to email me and tell me what you thought.
Absolutely.
Because I had a certain feeling about the book all the way right up until that, and then I did like a 180.
I'm super, super excited. And did either of you read what is it, The Dark Tower by Stephen King?
Yes, I did.
So when you get to the absolute ending of that story, like when he's in the epilogue,
that long epilogue.
Yeah, and that just made me, where he compared reading a book to having sex, and the Americans are always focused on the climax, but it's really about the journey to get there.
I like that book. I just was reading it. Sometimes when I read Stephen King, I'm surprised people read it because like most of the book is really boring, and then it gets super good at the end. It's like this condensed, amazing. It's like juicy fruit, you know. And then sometimes I read, I'm like, I feel like I tell a better story, but then his condensed parts are just amazing, and of course his prose is beautiful and poetic. But anyway, did you guys?
What I'm saying is, it requires perseverance to get through the Wheel of Time.
Definitely, 100%.
It takes grit.
But when you do, you end up at this 13 or 14, however many books, and you walk away feeling this was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because you didn't give up when there was that sagging middle.
Yeah, but I feel like when you're reading a book, there never should be that, oh, I gotta read it so I can get to book 14 or whatever. I don't know. I'm not big on finishing series, so I'm the hardest person to convince to get me to book 9 and 10 and stuff like that, unless I'm listening to it. Anyway, do you guys want to get to the reading?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Ryan, do you want to set up the scene?
Yeah, so this is a scene from my newest book, Relentless Souls. I wanted to do something crazy in the world of modern fantasy, and that was write a completely standalone novel.
Wow, that is crazy. But cool, but really cool.
And so I chose a selection from near the beginning of the story to avoid any potential spoilers. And essentially what has happened is our protagonist, Lee, has been living a life of drinking and debauchery, and has recently learned that his brother has been murdered. And his brother was a monk, part of an organization that essentially helps keep order in the empire. And he is trying to get to the bottom of what happened to his brother, and the monks are not talking to him.
Cool. And do you want to, I don't mind narrating if you want to play a part, or if you want to narrate.
Narrating is totally fine. If you want to do that, it is the vast majority of narrating. There's just a handful of line of dialogue between Lei and the monk named Chen. So I am happy to take any of the 3 roles.
Andy, what do you think?
I'll take Chen. I feel like it's time for me to exercise my monk voice.
Monk voice.
And he's kind of a large, happy man. So if you can try and mimic that somehow. But yeah, if you want to narrate, Stevie, let's do this.
Okay. I apologize if I don't pronounce things properly right now. And it's Lee, right? Not Lei.
Yes, Lee. Sorry.
Lee. Okay, cool. All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. Lee stepped out of the old goat and found the man he was looking for without a problem. He wore the white robes of a monk and was making his way quickly out of town, as though he was trying to escape without being seen. There was no need for subtlety. Lee ran after the monk while trying to determine who he was. The monk turned around, no doubt alerted by Lee's power. For a moment, Lee thought the monk would try to run, but he didn't. The monastery was a long, hard run away. The monk stood tall, as though his posture would somehow protect him from Lee's onslaught of questions. As Lee neared, he recognized the monk. It was Chin, a young man he'd been fairly close to during his own time in the monastery. Of all the monks Lee had ever known, Chin might have been the kindest. How much had changed in the years since they last spoke to one another? Chin hadn't come to visit him at the funeral. Chin gave Lee a short bow. It wasn't much, but it was far more than he'd received from the others. He decided to take it as a promising sign. The Lee of a week ago would have fought against common decency, but today he offered a bow that was just slightly deeper.
Lei, it is good to see you well,
Chin said, his voice sounding genuine.
And you as well, Chen.
Lee didn't see any reason to delay. Both of them wanted to get this confrontation over with.
What do you know about what really happened to my brother?
Chin actually laughed, transporting Lee back to their time together. The monk had never taken his life or his training too seriously. Strangely, although Lee hadn't spoken to Chin in years, it felt as though he had just heard that laugh a few weeks ago. It was a difficult laugh to forget, coming from deep in the stomach.
Still as direct as always, eh?
Saves everyone time, in my experience.
Chin's laughter slowly subsided.
I would love to tell you more. Truly, I would. It made my heart glad to learn the abbot no longer suspected you. But we are all under strict orders not to tell you more than you already know.
Lee wasn't going to let up.
Why are you here? It's far too late for a monk to be in town.
True. I was on a task for the monastery, but I was also asked to check on you. The abbot is concerned for your health.
Lee remembered Chin's ways well. The man hated lying, but he could twist the truth a dozen ways if given half a chance. His last answer stunk of half-truth.
Why? He's never shown any interest in me over the past few years.
Chin's eyes darted back and forth, searching for something to look at that wasn't glaring back at him.
Lei, you know I can't tell you more. Please accept my condolences and my apologies, but I must be off.
Chin turned to leave, but Lee grabbed his shoulder and turned him back around.
I'm not letting you leave until I have some answers, Chen.
Chin studied him. To his credit, he didn't dismiss the threat out of hand.
You're bluffing. You don't have the skill any longer.
He turned again, and again Lee grabbed his shoulder. Chin's arms snaked around Lee's. He'd anticipated the grab. Chin's hand latched onto his shoulder and pulled him forward and down. Lee let himself become the victim of the move, but wrapped his legs around Chin's arms as he rolled forward, pulling Chin down to the ground as well. He let go, and both of them were up in a flash, Chin's eyes suddenly more wary than they'd been before. Lee held up his hands, attempting to appear non-threatening.
I don't want to fight either, and not just because I like you, but I need to know what happened to my brother.
And I want to help you, but I won't disobey my orders.
They stared at each other, and Lee wondered if Chin would capitulate. He didn't. Without warning, the monk practically leaped forward, a single fist flying for a one-hit knockout. Lee wasn't surprised by the attack, but he was by its speed and ferocity. He stepped backward as the punch missed by less than an inch. With his left hand, he made the first sign for a basic attack as he deflected another punch with his right. He opened his left hand low, the blast catching Chin by surprise, lifting him off his feet and crashing him into a heap on the street.
Come on, Chen. Just talk. I really, really don't want to do this.
Chin didn't say anything as he got to his feet, but this time his stance was set. There really was only one way out of this, it seemed. Lee waited for Chin to attack again. Had he taken the offensive, he probably could have ended the fight in just a few moves, but he absolutely didn't want to be the one to attack his old friend. If they had to fight, so be it, but it wouldn't rest on his conscience. He didn't have to wait long. He didn't have long to wait. Chin came at him quickly, this time more cautiously. They exchanged a few light punches as they took the measure of each other. What Chen didn't know was how much Lee was holding back. Lee found it hard to believe, but this fight against Chen was easy. Lee knew he'd gotten stronger, but until now, he hadn't realized just by how much. Lee tossed Chen again, and when the monk rolled to his feet, Lee hit him with a blast that knocked him down again. He hadn't done anything to really hurt Chen yet, but the monk was becoming more upset by the minute. As Chen returned to his feet once more, Lee could feel the energy building with his opponent. Chen had released all pretenses, and now he was fighting without holding back. He thrust his arm forward, the second sign complete, and Lee felt the wave of energy fly at him. Lee formed the first shield with his left hand and slapped the attack away, aiming high. He felt Chen's strike go flying off into the distance, dissipating slowly as it drilled a hole through the clouds above.
Man, that really had an anime feel to it.
It did. I was gonna say that. You watch anime, don't you, Ryan?
I absolutely do.
Oh, of course.
That made me think of not Avatar, or sort of a mix of Avatar and Yu-Gi-Oh.
You say Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
I mean,
What's
I was
Yu-Gi-Oh?
channeling some Dragon Ball myself, but
Nice.
Dragon Ball, yeah, with the energy.
yeah.
I was between probably, like you said, Dragon Ball Z or an old Kung Fu movie where they're just.
Mhm.
Well, that was a grappling move, right? That
Yeah.
he does. Yeah. Okay.
Was
I
it jujitsu?
Aikido, actually.
I don't know anything about Aikido. I think it's just using the other person's momentum, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Did you study that?
I did, yeah. I've dabbled in a number of martial arts. I've obtained expertise in absolutely none of them.
You're like me then.
But it has been really fun to play around. Aikido is probably the one I've done the most. I've probably got 3 or 4 years of intermittent experience.
Nice.
Quick question: Aikido and Hapkido. What is the difference? Hapkido is with the swords.
Korean.
Korean.
Oh, okay.
It's similar. It's more similar to judo though. Hapkido.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Aikido focuses a lot on center of gravity, balance, shifting your weight, wrist and joint locks. Yeah.
They say it's one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was going to say Aikido, from what I understand, it's focused on taking down your opponent without actually hurting him, like stopping just before the point of pain. Whereas Judo and Hapkido, you do things like, you twist the wrist and break it, or things it's much more pain oriented. Whereas Aikido is all about preventing pain.
Yeah.
Steven Seagal is famous for being a ninth Dan black belt in Aikido.
Yeah.
And if you watch like his YouTube stuff, he's really good. Like, I mean, it's fake when he goes to the tournaments, but he fights like 9 people. It's pretty cool. I personally like Steven Seagal, even though he is cocky. I like the cockiness. I think it's funny. But Ryan, I wanted to say, and I'm gonna blow more smoke up your ass, so get ready.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Pucker up. I love the action. It's not many authors that I read from that I got an anime feel from, but 2 people have told me that my action is also anime-like. So it's cool to meet someone. And I was actually able to visualize your action scenes in my head. So I hopefully mine do the same. And now I kind of want to go back and read my first book in the series and go through my action scenes again.
I had a vision of, the Japanese, the split screen thing where one hand is focusing on the flurry of punches and the other half is, the finger movements that he's doing and then unleashing it. And it's just this, the long drawn out power blast thing.
You said, so your characters make signs to create the power?
Correct. Yeah.
Can you do some for us, or are they only in your head?
They are all imaginary.
Okay, they're all imaginary.
I know that there is one 2-handed that I describe as a diamond, but I think that's the only one that I explicitly describe.
I'm guessing that's from Naruto.
Could be, or it might be Tien's Flash from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, because he goes, and it goes like his eye, right? His third eye.
Mm-hmm.
Tien.
There's one move in the. Actually, there's another one. There's the move that is considered banned by the monasteries because it's too dangerous. It's called the Dragon's Fang, and that actually ends with the thumb across the palm like this, and then the energy gets focused there.
It's like condensed little bead.
Yeah.
It reminds. So what about the skadoosh?
I was actually exactly thinking of Kung Fu Panda.
Were you really? Kung Fu
Totally.
Panda is amazing. Skadoosh.
I should have added some skadooshes.
Skadoosh.
I missed an opportunity there, I think.
See, I do a lot of, Andy knows, I write a lot of comedy into my books. So I'll do, Andy, that's not allegories. What is it? What is it when you focus to something other outside of your book? What's that called?
I don't know.
It's like an Easter egg inside your book.
Okay.
But I would do the skadoosh at least once.
That would be a pop culture reference.
A pop culture reference. Okay, well, I have a lot of that in my books. So it's a risk, but I think it's hilarious because I love it when authors do it. So
if it's done well, it's awesome.
Yeah. And then the thing is, whenever I do something like that, I always really go into fantasy mode after that and pull them back into like, okay, this is a real fantasy world. I'm not trying to mess with your head, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to keep my risk factor lower about them saying, okay, this book's stupid. This is the third pop culture thing he's put in here. But yeah, so Ryan, is your Nightblade book on Audible?
It is.
Is it by Podium?
It was not. No. Unfortunately.
Well, awesome. Well, hey, thank you. Do we have anything else more to talk about Grit?
I think we talked it pretty
good.
Is it on Amazon, this book that we just read from?
It is indeed, yeah. And the paperback can be found anywhere, actually. So.
And it's Relentless Souls?
Yes.
Hold on, let me give my idea of the cover real quick for our readers because that's what everyone's watching.
Yeah, I'm really curious if it'll also earn a seal of approval or maybe a begrudging respect. Or
it's a seal of I need to change my underwear now. It's awesome, beautiful. It looks hand painted, actually.
It is.
Is it really?
Digitally, but yeah.
Oh, digitally. Okay, it looks like you'd hang this up on your wall.
I would love to do so, actually.
Yeah, because I think whenever if the Bizarre Blade series goes crazy, which it will, because I know it will, I want to have the artist like pull it out and actually hand paint it and then send it to me, and I'll pay for it like a gift to myself for the house. But Andy, anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, that's it. Just we've got our last podcast of the year next week, or the last official podcast with a guest. Next week, we've got Michael John Grist, author of the Saint Ignifer Cycle, another awesome assassin novel that we're going to get to talk about. It's going to be awesome. And then we've got on the 24th, 25th, 26th, thereabouts, the announcement of the 12 Days of Christmas drawing.
I'm reading the YouTube stuff, and Russian Hoskins put tangent time.
For those of you who are listening or viewing live, please count the number of tangents that Stevie goes on, and if he passes 5, he owes you a reward of some sort.
That made me tear up. That was so funny. I was reading through the comments and tangent time. What's that mean? Oh, that's me. Hilarious, guys. But you still keep coming to watch Rashun. All right. Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for being on there with us, man. I've had a blast today.
Hey, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again, especially if you have like a new release or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be delighted to come over and hang out again.
Awesome. Andy, anything else? Nothing?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, guys, hope you're having a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever, spending it with your family. Go see some Christmas lights. We love you all. We'll see you next Thursday. Have a fantastical night.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
There.